Hello, welcome everyone to today's webinar on how Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance can help startups and e-commerce companies to modernize their finance operations. And my name is Murali Avanamuthu. I'm the founder director of Cetas. And I have my colleagues with me, Vidya Dharan, who is heading the Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations practice, and Kiran, a senior project manager with the F&O practice, and Prakash Kandaraj, who is the sales and marketing director of Cetas. And the agenda for today's session, or the structure, would be that initially there would be a presentation run by Kiran, and then Kiran will move on to the live demo of the product. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the Q&A window, and my colleague Vidya will answer them as soon as the questions come up. And in the end, Kiran will recap all the questions and the answers for the benefit of everyone. So that's the structure of today's webinar, and I now invite Kiran to take over and start the presentation. Kiran, over to you.
We'll be covering introduction to Dynamics on Dynamics 365 Finance, Dynamics 365, a quick overview of our client list, and then moving on to the demo. So when we are talking about Dynamics 365, Dynamics 365 also business apps that works great on enterprises to reimagine their business process and align their organizations. Customers grow up in such as finance or only operations at the time of need. They have flexibility to rapidly add new integrated talking about Dynamics, a platform that unifies data, threaded intelligence. It talks about integrating facility and the data it has, and also it talks about our platform system in a secret and intelligent cloud ecosystem. It allows partners to extend building apps, quick industries, or verticals. So, overall, the strategy and investment in Dynamics 364 platform results in real-world business values during applications that are modern, unified, intelligent, and adaptable. Talking about Dynamics 365 core finance capabilities, it has a very improved collaboration with increased productivity, strong measures with better financial aid, where it leverages the financial data across these. The improvised chart of accounts with financial controlling and when budget control, it has a robust control over expenditure, gives a greater control processes. And talking about separation of operations and accounting, is the ability to define the accounting distribution and view ledgers, sub-ledgers, journal entries, source documents. When it comes to credit and collection, it has a greater efficient collaboration with customers while reducing the time to manage the processes. And when we are doing a collaboration, it's also important that we also collaborate with vendors. D365 has a capability for a vendor portal, which connects you to your suppliers, improve the cost of data within your organization. Stating that it also has an audit workbench, which finds how your corporate policies your corporate policy should automate processing. So overall, when we are talking about finance, the base being as a control and source of accounting, financial dimensions, and a great workspace. Dynamics 365 Finance has various modules, as in when we talk about anything more in detail. Start with a quick overview. the modules what I have, it's generator, accounts receivable, and payable thing, of some good insights on the financial reporting and analytics, credit and collections, bank management with the fixed assets, and good functionality, and also helps in project accounting, cost accounting as well. It has a very good consolidation when we talk about consolidating various entities under one group. So Dynamics 365 also comes with standard references. And it also has a configurable e-invoicing and payment options available. Of course, meeting the statutory requirements of the regional services. When we're talking about Dynamics 365 Finance, it's important that any organizations get into the budget and planning and forecasting. So manage your resources on chart flows, those documents and journal. It helps you in configuring and of available funds, cycles and thresholds. It also helps configuring monetary and quantitative scenarios and define a budgeting organization to support top to bottom or bottom up budgeting method. You can also convert the plan to your budget registry while providing a tool for maintaining a budget and keeping amounts traceable through the budget. So when we are doing the setting up of planning, it is also important compare of budget to actuals and identify the trends using the rolling forecast, which are supported through budget plan documents as initial planning activities. Overall, if you see, budgeting and forecasting enables finance teams to streamline long-term strategic planning, annual budget planning. So this is accurate forecasting, which makes it easier to plan your expenses and budget accordingly. Further, I'll be when we talk finance, of course, the accounts receivable is the channel for any organization. So when we talk about accounts receivable process, it's always important that we also do a proactive credit management. So Dynamics 365 Finance gives you a great you add in terms of credit management capabilities, which will proactively suggest control activities. The credit risk customer it has functionalities such as management of the score, system suggested credit limit, configure blocking rules, automation of credit cases, and more. So overall, proactive credit management over accounting and finance, profits cash flow, and gain more deep insights and control with automated credit control management. Payable. Dynamics 365 has a robust.
Okay. So while we talk about the AP process, so you will be able to manage all your vendor payments and invoices, and also you can do the invoice matching. When we talk about the invoice matching, you have got two principles on invoice matching. It could be of two-way matching and three-way matching principle. And we can also do an automation on vendor invoice. So when we talk about the automations based on the advanced shipment node, the invoice can be automated. So it has also gotten functionalities for prepayments, which can be used for any advanced payments and so on. So this is about the flow of an AP process. And this is how all the payments and the invoice recording will be handled in the system. So this is about the workspace, what you the system is capable of, it can pull out all the transactional data on a single dashboard view for an AP manager or a given roles. Okay, so in terms of e-invoicing, the following documents like a sale order invoice or a free text invoice or a credit note, all such documents can be, an electronic invoice can be generated from the system itself, which can be used for any communication to the customers or a vendor. Okay, so while we talk about the cash and bank, so you can manage multiple bank accounts, which all the bank accounts can be of the operational currency based on the bank accounts currency, or in case if you have maintained any bank currencies in an other than the operating currency, you can also do that. So you get a summary view of what is available in the cash book, on the bank ledgers. So you get all the dashboard kind of thing over on a bank module workspace. So when we talk about the centralized payments, so it being in a multi-country or a multi-country operating system, so you'll be you can manage all the payments originating from a parent company. So all the payouts can happen from the parent company to the corresponding vendors. So it has also got a revenue recognition engine, which will take care of all the revenue recognition concepts that is required for an revenue recognition. So you will be able to allocate the multiple sale orders based on the recognition concepts. And it is as per the standards of IFRS 15 and ASC 606. So while we talk about the financial reporting, system comes with an out-of-the-box solution called a management reporter, which will be used for all your financial reporting needs. So any sort of balance sheets or a P&L statements or an segmental reporting in terms of cost centers or in profit centers or any kind of segments reporting can be done based on the management reporter. So this is about the workspace. So each roles have or each set of specified roles have got a workspace wherein the user dashboard will have all the activities or notifications embedded on the workspaces, or it can also act as an alert system for an user. These are some of the workspaces available from the system. And from the Microsoft, as the product itself is from the Microsoft suite, it comes in integration with the Office products. So the seamless integration is available with Excel, and you can also publish the data to back to Dynamics 365. So these are some of the slides on this. So on in terms of integration capabilities, yeah, system is pretty much capable of handling all the integration capabilities, wherein a tool-based integration can be enabled, or an API-driven, or it can also be a flow-based Microsoft Flow, which we call it as a Power Automate. The integration can also be handled. So while we will now focus on what are the areas required for an finance operations for a given startups and other e-commerce service organizations. So we talk about the core accounting module, and we will be covering on the banking module, budget and planning, and taxation modules, and the consolidation reportings with the internal controls within the system. So these are some of our client list, which we primarily work on Dynamics 365 and AX 2012. We'll now move on to the demo. Talk about the product. Once we log into the system, you will have a dashboard. I mean, you can see all the modules and applications, modules and some functionalities available. So I will quickly move on to the general ledger module now. So you have ability to create a chart of accounts based on the accounting principles or an account nature type. So you can categorize the ledgers based on the category. So you'll be using the category, most of the financial reports can be driven. So this is about the chart of accounts. I'll quickly move on to the dimensions. So system is capable of handling all the segmental reporting. When I say segmental reporting, it can be driven using a uh, dimension, which we call it as a financial dimension. So there is no limitation on creating a dimension. So any sort of dimensions can be created within the system. A dimension can be of a custom value or in the system automatic value. When I say an automated value, let's say for example, when you create a customer, a dimension will get automatically created within the system. Or when you create an employee master, it gets added to your dimension master itself. So you don't have to repeat any dimension value to be created or to manage for additional segmental reporting. So system itself will take care of all the dimension values. So also it has gotten multi-currency functionalities wherein all the operating currencies and the are all listed here within the default system itself. And you can also set with an exchange rate for each of these currencies with the accounting currency. Okay. We will now move on to the workspace of financial, and I'll then move on to the AP module. So you can see a CFO overview module, I mean a workspace containing all the financial statements and dashboards, view of and cash flow and things like that. So these are available out of the box solutions. I mean, the workspaces. So you can see the financial overview of the company and the trial balance of as per the group of the ledgers. And on the revenue side, you will be able to see a revenue by region or an expense by category or an expense by region, which again integrated with your maps. So we also have in subledger insights. When I say subledger insights, based on the product category or in product line, the revenues or top 10 products are listed out here. And also in terms of customers, the top 10 customers are listed here. And for the aging buckets, you have got an dashboard view for it. And you also have got a bank balance on your dashboard. So these are some of the workspaces available within the system on own. So you can also drill down further to review the transactions which can be done. This is about the income statement by region. When you say region, you can have region as a dimension. So using the dimension, you'll be able to segregate the incomes accordingly or a P&L statements accordingly. So this is on the P&L's comparison with the budget figures. So you'll be able to review the actuals with the budgeted figures and the variance. I'll now move on to the AP module. So while talking about the AP module, you'll be able to categorize all the vendors. When I say categorization of vendor, it can be grouped as per the services or any other means as intended to do with the vendors. So vendor masters, when we talk about the vendor masters, you will be also be able to classify the vendors, whether in case of any taxation, in order to meet any taxation requirements, it can also be done. So as the system comes with the taxation by default itself, or all the statutory requirements can be met within the default system itself. So while we touch upon the procurement, yeah, it has gotten functionality starting from purchase request and then RFQs, and you'll also be able to do the RFQ comparison, which in turn on approval of an RFQ, it gets converted to an order. Or if you don't want to, or if you're not intending to do an invite for quotations, you can also directly create an order from a request. So let's quickly review the workspaces available on procurement modules. So you can see all the purchase orders without any, or what has been assigned for my approvals, and what has already been approved, and it has also got a vendor portal wherein, in case if you have submitted any purchase orders for your vendors and getting a confirmation from your vendor, it goes as an external review. So all these are available and listed out on your procurement workspace. And if you have got any purchase orders that are assigned or awaiting your approval, can be listed here. And all the approved peers are being listed out here. Okay. So while we talk about the purchasing model, purchasing can happen for your operational expenses as well as for your capex purchases. You also for your inventory purchases, which you are dealing on, or you are into the market for. Okay. So I will now move on to the AP module workspace. So this is about the AP module workspace, wherein it has gotten all the which are the payments or the invoices that are past due. So when you drill down to the particular type, it gets listed out to the pending invoices, or the invoices that are pending for or not settled so far. So on the analytics, you will be able to see the analytic view of your based on your AP module. So let it get loaded. So these are some of the available analytical, views within the system by out-of-the-box system. And in case if you are intending or willing to add any analytic views or a dashboard view, it can also be done using the tool integrated called Power BI. So these are the invoices due for the day and invoices due in future. Okay. So I will quickly move on to the cash and bank module. So, so while we talk about the cash and bank module, you will be able to review or on a periodic basis about on your cash and bank balances on an analytic view available on the workspace. So this, while we talk about the bank and cash module, it has got an functionality to integrate with your bank statement. When I say integrate, you'll be able to import your bank statements, and using the key identifiers or an transaction type or a given date or with the balance, it can also match automatically. So auto reconciliation is pretty much possible within the system itself. So using the bank statement upload, the auto reconciliation can be done. So I'll quickly move on to the AR module. So while talking about the AR module, all the customers coming up from any platforms or when we talk about the platforms, it can be of any order portals or any portals or a customer facing portals can be integrated automatically to the system using the technologies of APIs or in Microsoft Flow can also be used to an extent where it can talk to another platform or another application. So all the customers can be integrated to the customer masters of Dynamics 365. And whenever there is an order getting placed, it can be created as a sale order within the system itself. And you will be able to generate an invoice using a sale order or directly from a free text invoice available. Okay, and an invoice can also be automatically emailed to your customer once it is processed, which system will is capable to handle all your electronic communications to your customers and vendors. So it has also got an credit management system, wherein when we talk about the credit management system, all the credit policies or credit limits for a customer can be managed. So you'll be able to see what are the open customer invoices or what are the aging balances as of the and what is the status, and you can also take an appropriate action against each of these documents, wherein when I say appointment or an action, you can also track all the interactions that happens against a customer balances, or whenever there is a customer, a sales executive or an collections agent calling up or following up with a customer, he can record all the interactions within the system itself. So it becomes as a track for any user. So these are the customers' overdue invoices and aging balances. So when it gets overdue or it gets highlighted with a red cross mark, can you see here? So this is an invoice which is of due already. So while we talk about the customer credit limits, you'll be able to review what is the credit limit set for a given customer and what is the balance due. So whenever there is an overrun from the credit limit specified, you can also review from the dashboard. So you can also review all the customers which are on hold for any reasons. So you'll be able to review and periodically you can release them. So we talked about the interactions happening with the customer. So that becomes as in case management, wherein all the interactions will be recorded as a case in the system, and you'll be able to take an action against it. And in case of any action not being taken, you will be able to see the status as in process. And once the case or an action is completed, you can always go and close the case. So these are some of the activities or a case that has been created. And you will also be able to assign a responsible employee or a sales executive or a collection agent against a case or an action. I will now move on to the fixed asset module. So it gives you flexibility about to handle all the variable methods or several methods of depreciation postings within the system itself. So you'll be able to categorize an asset like plant and machinery, buildings, motors, or vehicles, and so on. So each group of an asset will be serially controlled. So you can see here the office equipments are classified as OFF starting from 1, 2, 3, and 4, so on. And the machineries are classified with MACs 1, 2, 3, and so forth. So in terms of depreciation books, you'll be able to classify all the depreciation books. If it requires something for taxations, you can also classify the tax depreciations. And in case of Companies Act also, you will be able to define the depreciation rates and the service lives for the assets. So both ways of handling the depreciations are available. And in case of any transfer of an asset from one location to another location, making use of the transfer of fixed asset, you'll be able to transfer the fixed asset from one to another. Okay. I'll also touch upon a few areas on general ledger now, and then move on to the management reporter. So before that, let me give you a brief about the budgeting. So this is about the budgeting model, wherein you'll be able to create the budget as per the original budget. So there are several ways of handling the budget. When we say various methods, it can be of original budget, or an carry forward budget, or an adjustment budget whenever there is a revision happening with the or a given financial year. So when we talk about the budget, you'll be able to provide the budget for each of your revenue and expenditure ledgers. So you'll be able to upload the budgets for a given ledger or an expenses with a combination of your cost center or profit center coming in place. So all these things can be handled using the budgeting module. And it has also got a budget control configuration, which will helpful for you or take any decisions whenever there is overruns on a budget. So in terms of overrun, it has got a control while placing a PO or while booking an expenses. All such areas are controlled with the budgets or an budgeting model what we have configured within the system. So I'll now move on to the general ledger module and then take it to the financial reporting of it. So we on the presentation we talked about the management reporter, while any sort of financial statements or an divisional wise or in profit center wise P&Ls can be configured using the management reporter, which will be it will be listed out on the financial reports. So I will quickly run the balance sheet for your reference. So I am just processing a balance sheet statement. So you can see here, this is my balance sheet, which has been generated. You can, from the balance sheet, you will be able to drill down to the transaction level. So I will just drill down to the actual transaction. And from there on, you will be able to go to the original document or the actual transaction origin. So these are some of the unique or key differentiator when it comes for an financial reporting per se. So I will get the report called. So there are various reports available out of the box system, which can be used, or in case if there are any specific or an user configured report or which any user or an auditors are requesting, then it can be used. It can be configured using the management reporter. Okay. So any questions so far? I am happy to answer. So